Hey everyone, I am back with a new video and this is going to be a walkthrough of this sketchbook that you are seeing on the screen right now, which I got a couple of requests for ever since I uploaded my Queen Couture #1 video this year on my YouTube channel. And I am also a little bit busy with university at the moment, so I decided that I wanted to film kind of an easy video, and hopefully this video is enjoyable as well as helpful for some of you guys who want to start their own collection kind of just as a practice and also want to use this technique which I used that I pretty much learned in high school from my visual communications and design class as well as my studio arts class. So let's get started. Before I get started, I just want to mention that the brand of this sketchbook, in case I do get questions about what sketchbook I am using, it is by the brand The Art Studio, and it is an A4 visual diary with 110 GSM cartridge paper on the inside, and I believe I got this one from Riot Art and Craft. I'm not really sure, I could have gotten it from Lincraft, but any local arts and craft store will do, any office supply store will do as well. You definitely don't have to purchase an expensive sketchbook if you want to recreate this kind of sketchbook for your own designs. So the theme that I chose for this collection, as the title suggests, is a queen, or all kinds of queens. And yeah, so this is the title page, and I did start this sketchbook at around 2014, but probably at the end of 2013. I'm not entirely sure, although I vaguely remember that I brought this sketchbook with me to the Philippines when we went there for the holidays, and that was 2013. So, most likely 2013. Anyway, after choosing a theme, what I did was I went onto the internet and gathered some inspirational photos, which you could also do, and I created this board right here, or this page spread, and it's just a bunch of photos that I thought were associated with the theme that I've chosen, which were queens. And you can kind of see these different images over here. And there's also a color palette, which I would kind of recommend if you're creating a mood board, is to kind of stick to a color palette. But of course, you can always bend the rules. You don't have to stick to a color palette, but I just prefer to. And what I had in mind during the time that I was starting this collection was I wanted a lot of gold incorporated into my designs. And so obviously I searched up the word gold on Google and just used these images over here. I really like these ones because they kind of have a little bit of text, or not a little bit, they have texture in them, which I thought was a really interesting photo. And the queens over here are from movies. Like, this is from a movie. I think this one's a painting. This could also be a painting. This is a movie still. And this one's a fashion photography, and this is from a TV show called Rain, which I used to watch, but I don't watch it anymore because I kind of just fell behind, and unfortunately I don't have time to watch it anymore. But yeah, so I would recommend or advise that you also gather your sources of inspiration and kind of put them into one place, compile them. It could be on your computer, or it could be a hard copy, which is a page like this, and the inspiration could actually be a movie, a song, a quote, a book, or something like that. It doesn't have to be a photo, but I just find that photos are what works for me since I'm more of a visual learner and I like to see things rather than to hear them or something like that. But of course, I also take inspiration from songs, not ruling that out because it does help kind of get your creative juices flowing, as they say. And yeah, so this page is pretty much where I start drawing the ideas that I have in mind for the collection, and it's a combination of the theme that I have chosen as well as the inspirational photos that I have gathered and the color palette, and also the images that I had in my head as I was pretty much thinking of the theme, because usually when I come up with a theme, some ideas tend to pop into my head, and obviously I want to translate those ideas onto paper. And how I did that was I actually used a template for these drawings. So these are just ideas. These are not the final illustrations yet, so I don't want to focus too much on drawing the fashion figure because that takes quite a bit of time. I want to jot down my ideas as fast as possible, so I first would start with a template, and this is the template that I use, which I made myself. I pretty much just drew on cardboard and I cut it out. I do get a lot of questions about this one and where I got this from, but I just made it, so you can definitely make this as well. It's super easy. You just draw on cardboard and you cut it out. That's how simple it is. And so I would normally trace it out with pencil. I would trace it out, and then I would sketch the design that I had in mind with a pencil. And once I'm finished, or once I'm happy with the design, I would normally, obviously, because it's just pencil, I can rub it off and then kind of change things around. And once I'm happy with that, I would ink it with the black fine liner. And the fine liners that I actually used, in case I do get questions about this, I used the Couture Rapid Sketch fine liner here, and the Deleter Neopica Line 2 fine liner in 0.1. And I do have a video on that, on those two pens actually, since I did a review on both of them. And these were the sketches, or the drawings, that I used to test them out. So if you're actually wanting to create your own designs, you could obviously use a template the same way that I did for these ones. However, I actually recommend that you could also try to learn how to draw the fashion figure, just because drawing is an essential part of communicating any design idea that you have, and I feel like with a template, it can look a little too flat. For example, with these ones, the pose looks very generic, especially when you end up repeating the same template again and again for the next couple of pages. It looks way too repetitive. It doesn't make it stand out. It also kind of lacks a bit of oomph to your drawings. And yeah, so I would kind of just recommend that you learn how to draw the fashion figure as well, or the human anatomy, or anything like that, because I do think that those give your drawings a bit of personality as well as interest and life in general. And yeah. However, of course, if you don't feel comfortable with it, there's nothing wrong with using a template. You can use other people's templates if you ask them permission, or you can create your own templates, but of course, you'd have to learn how to draw the fashion figure first to create your own template. But yeah. Anyway, so on this page right here, the other thing that I have is this blurb, which you could call an annotation. And this is just a documentation of the thought process that I had as I was drawing these designs. So it helps me remember how I created, or how I came up with these designs, and why I came up with these, something like that, what was going through in my head. It helps me remember all of those things. And it helps me right now, especially that I make videos of my designs or of my drawings, since people like to know how I came up with designs, and I made this in 2014 and it's 2015 now. So if I didn't write any of these words down, I would just look at this and be like, oh yeah, that's a cool design, and not know how I came up with it, and I wouldn't know what to talk about in the videos that I pretty much make. So this helps me a lot. You can also do this, but it's really up to you. This one right here is a post-it note, which I place onto the designs that I actually end up choosing for the actual collection. So I did make, I think, 16 ideas in this sketchbook, and I wanted to narrow it down to 10 for me to kind of illustrate with my Copic markers. If it has the post-it note, it means that I chose that design, and this one is actually from my recent video, which you might have seen, Queen Couture number 4. However, this one didn't make it so much. I think it was because the skirt just, I don't like the skirt so much, but I do like the top half of it. Might do something with that, I'm not really sure. The next couple of pages are pretty much the same, and on this double page spread, I chose all of the 4 designs to pretty much make it to the collection, except these 2 over here have the orange page flags, and then these two don't have one. And the orange page flag is just for me to kind of keep track of which of the designs I already turned into a Copic marker illustration and which one I haven't yet. So if it has the orange page flag, it means that I haven't actually turned it into a Copic marker illustration yet. What I also do with some of these design ideas is that I would create revisions of them. For example, this one is, I thought that it was a decent design and I actually quite liked it, but it just wasn't good enough and there was something a little bit off with the design, and so I made changes. And I used a red pen to kind of just differentiate the changes and which one was the original drawing. And I also drew an arrow with a little annotation just to kind of tell myself that, oh, this is what you did to that one. It's just a little annotation of me telling myself what I did. And yeah, so that's what I would normally do if I come across a design that I like, but it's just not 100% there yet, if that makes any sense. The next pages over here is another double page spread of photos. These are actually more magazine pages that I cut and pasted on here. So I didn't print these out. That's why they're a little bit more glossy and better quality than the photos that I had printed in the previous mood board that I showed you. And this, as you can see, also has a bit of a color palette happening. So it's a lot cooler with the purples, and it's also softer because of the pastel colors. And the reason why I made this mood board is because I was running out of ideas for the previous mood board that I had put together. And I kind of run my course with that one, and I thought, I'm just going to be creating the same thing again and again, and I don't want that to happen. So I want to approach the theme in a different way, which you could obviously do because a theme could be expanded into so many different ways and so many different aspects of it. And you could obviously do that with whatever theme that you end up choosing. And so that's what I did. And then I generated these designs that you will see here. The yellow post-it note is actually the colors that I ended up choosing, or that I want to use for the design that I kind of came up with. And sometimes these ideas come into my head and I obviously want to keep track of them so that in the future when I'm looking back into these and when I actually want to turn them into the Copic marker illustrations, is that I know, or I remember, or I have an idea of what I want to do with it. And of course these can change. For example, the color palettes that I actually ended up choosing from my mood board, like the gold, the black, and the orange that I first thought I was going to use for the entire collection, that changed. And I don't think I actually ended up using that specific color palette for any of the designs. So far anyway, I haven't exactly colored everything in yet. So we'll see whether I continue that color palette into one of the designs. So that's just what I do to just remind myself that these are the colors that I chose. This is kind of the theme that I'm going for with this particular design, and hopefully in the future I will use that one. But of course, if my mind changes, then I will obviously go for something else. This is never, ever, ever set in stone. And so that's just what I do for the next couple of pages, and it kind of just ends there. This is the last page, and that's pretty much it. I'm not going to elaborate too much on the designs since you will be seeing some of them in a future video. And yeah. So before I end this video, I just want to briefly talk about this memo sheet here, which might help some of you guys who are wondering how I come up with a theme or how I gather inspiration or get inspired, I guess. And what I like to do is I like to write lists. And I find that inspiration, for me anyway, comes from something that I am currently interested in. So whenever I am interested in something, I would list it down, whether it's food, music, a movie, a book that I've read, anything. It could be anything. I will list it down. And I have so many lists in my sketchbooks, in my notebooks, in memo sheets like these ones. And yeah, so that's just what I do. Like, I just keep track of them so that whenever I'm stuck or whenever I want to start a new collection but I don't know what to start, like sometimes that happens when you're so motivated to do work but you don't know what to do. You can always just refer back to your list and maybe find something that could inspire you, because obviously if you were interested in it once, you could be interested in it again. So I will end it here for this video. I hope it wasn't too long for you guys. And I also hope that you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, especially for those who were wondering as to what was actually in the sketchbook, because I did get a lot of questions about what was in the sketchbook. So hopefully that cleared things up. And yeah, good luck to anyone who wants to start their very own fashion collection. And thank you guys for watching. Please check out the links in the description box below if you want to contact me. My email is in the description box as well, and also my social media links. You can check out my Society 6 shop, which is also linked in the description box below. And yeah, I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, please do give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in my next one.